The goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
So.
Good enough for rock.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band and show.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band.
Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all... God almighty,
But this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like, seriously. I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot, up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar.
Tonight, we have the indie alt-rock of Asian American artist Judah Kim.
Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be
Your next favorite band.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese.
Hello, and I am your co-host, David Moore.
And you are listening to
Your next favorite band.
And then back-to-back Philly artists. Last week, Eliza Hardy-Jones. This week, Judah Kim.
I mean, look, when you've got a deep bullpen, you just call them up when you need them.
It's very true.
I mean, it's not like we're calling them middle innings or anything like that. It's just that we happen to be very fortunate to live in the vicinity of some very, very talented people.
100%. And good timing here to have Judah on because he's got a very, very cool and important show coming up with other Asian American artists, and the story behind that is something that we want to make sure we touch on.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming up. What is it, May 11th?
Correct.
At the lounge at World Cafe Live.
Yep.
If I've got all my notes correct, and it is going to be 5 different artists. It'll be a full night of rock. I mean, you're going to get a great show.
It's amazing.
Everything
it is a great
from.
setup.
I mean, there's going to be different varieties. You're going to get some acoustic stuff. You're going to get some piano stuff. But I mean, it's going to be the whole breadth, which is what you want from a show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. But we'll definitely be hearing from him and how it all kind of came together, along with his obviously his music and his story. But first, we are burgeoning here onto festival season, and wanted to kind of share this past weekend. Arts Quest announced their free Levitt stage, where I think there's 9 permanent Levitt stages.
I think that number sounds right to me.
Yeah, I think there's 9 in the country. We're lucky enough to have one of them, and it provides us with free concerts Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, from basically Labor Day to Memorial Day.
Correct. It has the
Other way around, Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Right. I mean, but the Sunday rule is sort of like why is sometimes a Val thing.
Correct.
It is. But we get some great shows. I mean, it's unbelievable that this stuff is literally in our backyard, and the announcement was just the other day. Yeah.
So they always do a great job. They do like a reveal. It's kind of like they keep it secret, so it's kind of fun. And on this past Sunday, this is the announcement flyer, a brand new kind of. And they had the artist who designed this up on stage.
Oh, cool.
It was very, very cool. They talked about that a little bit, and then started to provide some of the announcements of who's performing. And so we're not going to rip through the whole thing, but I think what I wanted to start with was prior people, basically next favorite band artists, people who've been on the show before. Bandits on the Run, and the other one is Patty Pershela and the Mayhaps. So Bandits on the Run is going to be July 5th. Patty Pershela and the Mayhaps, August 17th. And I'm going to throw in Arkai as well. So Arkai is scheduled to be on our show in July. So by the time they perform on the Levitt stage,
It will already
September
be your
6th,
next favorite band.
they will be your next favorite band. And then I was watching the opening, in kind of correlation to this. There's in the show opener for our show has images from Bandits on the Run, Arkai, as well as Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band, who is, we've been trading emails. He's been traveling a ton. He's been touring a bunch. He's been putting out some music. So we just haven't found a date to lock down. So again, is already, for me, they were kind of like the best find of Music Fest last year. So they were my best of the fest. But yeah, so there's a bunch of them that are already like in the fabric of our show for the current new opening and have been on there. So those are some, and I say this every time, some of my favorite interviews were those, and great music. So to kind of definitely check that out. Anybody else on the list you would want to highlight?
Carbon Leaf is on there for me. We kind of knew that date was already coming because they announced their whole spring tour, and that was already on the list. I'm really looking forward to the War and the Treaty. They were actually at the Levitt last year. They headlined their blues festival, so they're going to be great. Is there one that jumps out for you outside of the ones you've already mentioned?
So Brass Queens is amazing, and we're not going to share dates on these. Basically, people will be like, losing their brains on what dates and whatever. Like, we'll
have a
provide
marker
these
and a calendar as you're going.
as we're going. But the other ones that are I'm super pumped about. Dry Reef was a Music Fest band from last year. Some of the other ones that I'm really looking forward to are Happy Landing. And then Adrian and Meredith, I think they sound incredible. They're kind of in that Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band kind of sound. And then the other nice kind of announcement we have is, and I'll share the date on this one, June 21st. Back in November, we did a kind of twin-produced songwriters round. Of local songwriters.
Yeah, Nashville meets Bethlehem was, I think, the name of it at that point in time. Yeah.
Right. Gerard Longo, who is Underground Music Collective, was here in Bethlehem 5-ish, maybe 6 years now. Moved to Nashville to start it as a career, to make it happen, to make it work. Music promotion, blogging, also career advice, that kind of stuff. And he's making it work. He's got it happening, and he wanted to come home to Bethlehem area and put it on. So back in November, he asked us to be a part of it, to co-promote it, co-produce it, and we each picked people who were local. It did so well that ArtsQuest and the Levitt Steel Stacks asked if they could bring it to that stage. So super awesome that night. If for those of you who are familiar, there's the Levitt stage, and then there's a smaller stage that's like, it has a crazy name, but anyway, it's the small stage closer to the building.
The town center, right? The town square or something like that. I mean, it's got a whole sponsor name that's longer than that, but
it's a super sponsor name. But they often put people on that. It could be, a more local act on that stage. What they allowed Gerard to do, and we'll be helping him out, is booking songwriters on the Levitt stage and on that small stage. So it's actually going to be it's normally 7:30 to 9. So that'll be that main stage, and then at 9 things will continue on the small stage. So that's going to be a really fun night.
We're just taking over.
We're taking over everything. But anyway, check that out, Levitt Pavilion Steel Stacks. Also, just check out the Levitt Foundation. Wonderful organization. Like we said, there's these 9 permanent stages. There's plenty others that are more temporary, where they're trying to bring free music with the intention of it bringing the community together. So it's often diverse. It's often, up and coming new artists, where it fits perfectly for like what our show tries to do. So Levitt Foundation, national organization, wonderful one to look into. And then these stages, wherever you are, there might be one nearby to kind of check it out. It's a wonderful offering.
Amazing. Yeah, they're great people, and the great offerings that they put out every year.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So we want to now pivot to the artist who also is, obviously a wonderful songwriter from the area, based in Philly. Judah Kim is our guest for tonight, and he has an incredible catalog of music. And the one song that I think possibly is the most known is this one called Fate. It has an amazing video to it as well. So if you happen to be listening on the podcast, make sure you check out this video because it's really well produced. But we'll share this. David do some bio, and we'll bring Judah on the show. So here, enjoy some Judah Kim with his song Fate.
The word underdog can be synonymous with Philadelphia. Hey, Rocky. Coupled with being a minority, this is the story of Judah Kim. He is a proud Asian American vocalist, songwriter, multiple instrumentalist, producer from Philadelphia. His music ranges from intimate and introspective to playful and visceral, all while maintaining a sound tethered to indie alternative rock. Having proud immigrant parents who accomplished so much through his tireless self-reliance, Kim has adopted that work ethic and pride into his craft and his career. With no label and no management, Judah Kim has been able to book international tours, achieve FM radio play, and license his music to various television shows worldwide. In 2020, his song Fate, listening in the background, was added to the highly selective Crucial Music Publishing catalog, based in Los Angeles, California. And currently, he's writing and recording while doing a string of summer shows.
Bring this back up, and we'll bring Judah on the show.
Hey guys.
Welcome, Judah.
Hello.
And we're going to let this keep playing in the background. If you could tell us a little bit more about this video. It's pretty dope.
I haven't seen it in so long. It's bringing back.
I heard
some
you
memories.
giggling a little bit, and I always love that. Where it's like,
yeah,
very,
this
very
was
genuine.
done by Skylar Jenkins. He's a wildly creative video man, let's say. Does a lot of awesome videos. Stars Brielle Rickards, who's now in Los Angeles, California. I think she's pursuing acting, and Benjamin Bass is a local guy here. I think he's very much into the arts and acting as well still.
mm-hmm.
This was all done like underground, and I remember like trying to avoid SEPTA at all costs because the security guards would come around and they would bust our chops, say, "Hey, you can't film here," and that was very challenging and fun. Funny story about this is that there's a scene with her on the subway, right? She actually forgot. There was something that she forgot. I think it was her wallet, actually,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we only had one take to do this shot, and so you see her walk off the train, and so we all walked off with her. The cameraman, like I'm
Sure.
behind the camera, and so is Ben. So we like, all right, we got it, and we're up on the street because we're looking for our next shot. And then these two guys approach us and they're like, yo, yo, yo. Apparently she left her wallet on the train.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so that was just like, that was such a nice thing because, and we saw that as kind of a good omen because
Sure.
the song is sort of about a twist of fate and all that.
Mhm.
So
It's even obviously she loses her phone in the video, and the actor brings it back to her. It's like
exactly.
art imitating life there. It's pretty amazing.
Immediately,
Yeah.
right? It's so wild. So
That is
funny.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
What a great story.
And it was such a hot day. That's, I mean, like, I'm looking at my hair and I'm like, damn, that's what it looks like. It's all matted down. I remember being kind of insecure about that too at the end.
No. I thought you look great. You look good to me. Wonderful music, and you've been playing Music Fest a bunch of years in a row, and so that's how we came across your music. And then we ran into each other at the recent Inside Hustle, which is like a wonderful networking event that Philadelphia puts on with WXPN, and a couple other organizations are involved in that. But you were telling me about this Asian American Pie concert, and wanted you to touch on that, some of the kind of inspiration and motivation around it, and then I'll bring up the page about it, and we can kind of touch on that before getting into your story.
Cool. Yeah, well, this is sort of like the short version, if you will. What it comes down to is, it's rare for me that I've seen another Asian American artist or musician outside of like classical music in my life.
Sure.
And when I do, it's always like, hey, that guy is Asian, and
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I've shared this experience with other people, even people on the bill, and it's the same thing. And
Yep.
the point is that we sort of operate like islands, and the reason the show is important generally is not necessarily, when I see these types of shows, it's usually like, hey, move over, white people, or move over men, or like what. I mean,
Sure.
and that's all valid. That has its place and whatever. But for me, that's not necessarily what it's about. It's more about like, hey, like I'm Asian and I'm a rock and roll musician, and who else is out there? Because when John Fay and I had put this together, we were like, all right, who else should we get to assemble this bill?
Which I have this picture here if you want to. This is all of the people involved.
Yeah. So it's from left to right. So that's actually my brother Joe on the far left. And he's in a band called Beau Frere. John Fay's in the purple jacket. That's me in the center. Alyssa Garcia is the only female there, or the only woman on the show. And then Dave Kim from Moonroof.
Yeah, it's a great lineup. Moonroof we're familiar with as well from Music Fest, and obviously everyone is or should be familiar with John Fay.
Yeah.
If not, they probably don't know that they already are.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
they've got a Caulfield song in their head somewhere that they just dig up from time to time.
Right. Yeah, no, the topic is incredibly important, and we'll get into even more reasons why in a second. But it has come up on our show before. We had a band out of San Francisco on called the Family Crest, and their frontman is Liam McCormick, and he is biracial. So his parents, one was Irish, one was Chinese, and with that though, he wrote an article about America and especially in the time of COVID and Asian hate, and how that was impacting the band and how that was impacting him personally. And he did get into the concept of like, if you don't, like, that whole representation matters, where if you don't see it in the world, it's hard for you to maybe have that as a dream or be able to push through some of that. So there's always those moments that we want to touch on this because it's so important. And it's also a time to kind of celebrate what you're doing because you're changing it for a younger person right now.
Exactly. I mean, I'm happy to sort of explore and elaborate on that as well, if you want to.
Yeah.
One of the things that like really breaks my heart when I let me back up a little. So I remember having discussion about like how social media affects mental health and all that with people, with friends. And then for some reason I was Googling suicide rates, and this was happening back in like 2015.
Sure.
Around then, I would say. And then it shocked me to know that like Korea was like up there. like in like the top 10. I think it's come down quite a bit but it's still like very, very high.
Sure.
And so I've circled back around to it for different reasons now, to kind of just look at the mental health and of Korea. I mean, you talk about a country that is like a world leader economically. Like it's like the 13th largest economy. K-pop is on the rise. Like the dramas, Squid Games, all that. Like the culture is becoming very influential. But you actually have this really depressed country, and researchers smarter than I. Like there's a guy called Mark Manson. He did actually did a great video on this. He went to Korea and talked to researchers, and a lot of it is attributed to the suicide rates. A lot of it is attributed to the academic pressure and the societal pressure around career and work, traditional ones. And the highest suicide rates are actually from 10 to 49 years old, that age range. I mean, just so you know, they start college prep at like 6 years old.
Wow.
They even have a bridge in South Korea called nicknamed the Suicide Bridge.
Wow.
I think the official name is like the Monpo Bridge. I might be butchering that, but so anyway, my point is that, like you're saying, it comes from a lot of, and all of that pressure sort of stems from the centuries-old Confucian values that Korea have adopted. Like for a very long, Korea has a deep history with China and Japan sort of arguing over the
top of them, yeah. Right.
And the great thing that kind of stuck about the Japanese occupation, we could probably do a whole podcast about Japanese occupation, but
which I'd love to. Let's set that up for another time.
They sort of allowed the Western values in, but then there was the people that wanted to hold on to the Chinese values and the old ways. And Koreans had long hair, but during the occupation of Japan, all the top knots were cut off, and that was a huge thing. And anyway, my point is the one thing that stuck is these Confucian values that kind of demand an impossible work ethic. Really black and white thinking, like if you can't meet up to these standards, and then also like a deep shame if you can't conform, like there's something wrong with you. Right. So I know I'm building up this whole backlog here, but what I'm getting at is that it kind of like, it makes me wonder if Korean Americans too are haunted by this sort of ghost, if you will, of Confucian values, and they're kind of driven to about seeing life as sort of one way. Right. I think it's what makes Koreans and all Asian people, in fact, great. Right. This sort of like, we're generally really hardworking. It's a stereotype, but it's something that we're all kind of proud of too.
Sure.
Fodder for comedy. We all crack up about it. We embrace the laughter. But look, it's literally like harming our mental. It's killing us, I think. And my family even is just so artistically inclined, and music is part of our identity. And I don't know, it makes me wonder that, okay, how many other Asian people are out there, Korean people are out there, who are just sort of casting aside beautiful talent and music or whatever, because they're killing themselves to seek one way of life, be it academic or traditional career pursuits. And so that's why the show is important to me, because it's like you said, like seeing one of you said that it's, if someone else can see it as like that it's possible, our existence, meaning like everyone else on the bill, is that it's possible, then it's possible for them too. Yeah, there's another way of being Asian American.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. That's why I think this is like got that two parts to it. One is just being at front and center to show that it's possible. The other part is these other elements that you're uncovering. Is not only is it important that this is a path, but it's also the other elements of just simply raising awareness. Like you mentioned suicide rates and Confucian values and stuff, like that stuff that is important for everyone to talk about it within that community, is to be able to kind of make sure people are okay mentally, like health wise, that's stuff to like be on the lookout for each other.
It's getting better, apparently. I mean, I can't speak for other Asian countries. I've only sort of looked at South Korea, but there haven't been like a lot of resources, because again, there's that shame sort of around it.
Right.
Get it. Totally get it.
Yeah.
Well, I have that. Like you actually authored this. I brought it up slightly, but in addition to promoting the event, you kind of blogged this article of why an all Asian rock show is important. So that's the poster. And again, we'll say the May 11th at World Cafe Live in Philadelphia. And then this is what you kind of wrote about, is sharing a lot of the details of what you kind of just did, and then and more. So like there's lots of great content here that people should check out. So we will link to this in the show notes. We'll post about it as well on social media so that people can read the article and hopefully purchase tickets to go see the show.
That's so great.
Because in addition, I mean, probably I mean, first and foremost, it's hard to pick a priority on this, but let's just say it's like David had said, 5 amazing bands. Like this is going to be great music. So don't necessarily go there just because it's you're going to support this good cause. You're also going to go and enjoy yourself with amazing music.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like a lot of these events, especially around like AAPI Heritage. I was talking to somebody, and they all feel very sort of academic or something, like your mom or dad would make you go to. But this is going to be a fun night of music, like a really good, fun music.
Yeah, you've got great music. You're in a great venue. I mean, so it's there's all sorts of things that line up for that. So you're supporting something great, and you'll have a great time. That sounds like a win. Like
double win.
Yes.
But yeah. So definitely do that. We'll touch on it again a little bit later. But let's dive back into your story. So if we roll this all the way back, I think this is even really fascinating to share. Your father was from North Korea and was able to escape or get to, I don't know what the right phrase would be, basically get to South Korea.
Sure.
Which is where he then meets your mother. And, they immigrate to the United States. But that's got to be a fascinating story right there.
It really is. And they deserve their own sort of like script and movie, because
Sure.
those two.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't really know much about how he escaped, but he escaped before Kim Il-sung took over. So this was during the Japanese occupation. And I'll tell you a little funny story. Like, they were going around in school, as a lot of schools do, and say, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And he must have been in like 3rd grade, and he said, mistakenly at that time, unbeknownst to him, but he said, "I want to be the emperor." And so what happened? What happened to my dad was that he was thrown in jail for that. I'm not sure when he got out, but my grandmother, his mother, would like deliver fresh fish to the security guards like every day to like plead with him to try to get out. It was a wild time. He told me that like a lot of his friends and people were just they were forcing people to change their names to Japanese ones, and it's a very complicated issue amongst older Koreans apparently, because the Japanese did build infrastructure in Korea. So it was like, okay, well, they're leaving us alone. I mean, they build our roads and we're fine. But some other people were just very like, hey, they're trying to like kill our ethnicity, basically, destroy it. So yeah, he escaped with one of his school teachers apparently when he was sort of young. I don't know how old, but he was also obsessed with learning English from an early age. Completely obsessed with learning English, and he basically grew up to be a translator, and he somehow managed to become a translator for the U.S. Army in South Korea at one point. Okay. And then he was able to meet my mom there, and they were able to come to the States.
Sure. Yeah, and then at that point too, like they start selling bread and clothes on the street. And you also have 8 children. You're 7th of 8, if I understand it right.
Yeah. How did you find this all out? Like, yes, it's yeah.
So far, the internet is undefeated. It's true.
Yeah. So they came to the States, but again, with like my father's intellectual understanding of English and my mom's 0 English and even like less money, but 3 kids and 1 in the oven. And man, it's a story of just real grit. Like they moved to the projects on Passyunk Ave, and this is where my mom is just, she's like the end. My dad's the dreamer, sort of. My mom's the engine. Like my mom just makes things happen. Right. She got us. She got my family out of the projects, and yeah, like you said, she was selling bluebonnet bread and on the street, and then eventually started finding wholesalers for women's clothes, and that became a thing. She was selling on Broad Street for a while,
It's amazing.
and she was able to save up money, and then they bought a house in the suburbs, and here we are.
Makes
Rest
everything
is
possible
history.
from there. That's amazing.
I didn't have to see any of that really. It was
Wow.
suburbs of Philadelphia.
Yeah, and so any of your other siblings are musically inclined, or anything there that is also, like your brother's obviously in a band as well.
Yeah, so like him and my brother that's a little younger than him, like they were both in bands, and it was such a blessing to have not only like a garage with like drums and a PA and a guitar set up, it was like it was a playground for me that way, but their record collection too. I mean, it was so great to have all that. So yes, they absolutely are. And then my other brother is a crazy artist. Well, actually, two of my brothers are. One of them that was musical too. One of them's an architect now. The other is head chef at Spot Gourmet Burgers. But he's in Philadelphia, and he's a crazy artist too. He doesn't really do it, but he absolutely was and is, and like their children and my cousins, like it just extends just very wide.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's just music in your genetics, I guess. I mean, it's just there. You have a wonderful way of, like, whenever I listen to your music, I think it comes through in Fate there. There's like a beautiful simplicity. Like, it's just good music. That doesn't mean it's simple music by any stretch. What I mean is, like, it's so breath of fresh air, cool drink of water, like, that kind of a sound where it's just like you could put it on at any moment, whether it was you just want to chill out a little bit or you want to have 6 people over for wine and cheese. Like, it's just like I think it's just that kind of music. It's just really, really great.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
The real question is, do you regret with the high note that you have to sing every night with Fate that you wrote into that song, where you go like this: "If only I had known."
Not that one. That one's okay. I mean, that one's pretty consistent for me, but there are definitely other ones where I'm like, God, why did I write that so high?
Well, Backdoor has some pretty high notes too.
Yeah, the falsetto thing's never. Yeah, I'm pretty consistent with that. Like, some of the beltier ones can kind of be more taxing on my voice.
Yeah. But Backdoor is going to be what we play after the credits. There's always like that one song we play at the end, and it's either brand new or something that's just. It's always the one that catches my ear, like the one that's when I'm listening to a playlist or just got stuff on shuffle, there's always that song comes on. I'm like, oh yeah, I love this one.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So the early phase of music though for you, and if there's more to fill in too, like between like, getting into music and these bands, whatever you want to add to the flavor of the story, but Stone Throne is like your first band, if I got it right, and then Judah Kim and the Assassination was another phase there as well.
Yes. So Stone Throne was I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Oh, excellent.
And after Berklee, I went to Los Angeles almost immediately. And I worked in more or less a home studio. It was a project studio, but it was a really awesome project studio. And we had some pretty high-end clients and gigs. It was one of his good friends was Sean Stockman from Boyz II Men. So I remember working on sessions with him. I cut some vocals with him, and
awesome.
talk about a guy who can sing consistently and like octuple his voice in perfect like pitch. But anyway, so we do commercial shoots. We'd go on gigs on site to shoot stuff for Target and things like that. And it was cool. It was just I was like 22 at the time, and I'm like, listen, I mean, this is Los Angeles. There's sunshine here. I have music in me, and like I don't know if I can sit behind a desk. So I started a band, and my younger brother moved out, who's also extremely talented as well. It was like a Asian Brothers thing. It was like he was the bass player, and I sang and wrote the songs, and we sort of we migrated back to Philly though, because Los Angeles is amazing and kind of not so amazing for the same.
I can totally know. I know what you're going with.
I think for the same reason, because everyone's like seeking out something different, and I love that. But it's also a bit suffocating, and it's also there's so many young people that I don't think they're ready to be out there. I certainly wasn't in hindsight. Sure. I don't think that I had the chops. I mean, I feel like I had the voice, but I didn't necessarily have the chops or the songwriting then. I could certainly go back now, but even then, it's just so competitive, and it's all about youth. And So yeah, we moved back to Philly, and then we got a new drummer and a new second guitarist, and that's actually kind of where we met John Fay too, and Ike, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Got it.
remember doing shows with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
That eventually Stone Throne eventually fizzled out. There was some inner turmoil, and I
Got
had addiction issues. I went to rehab, and
Sure.
and then 5 years after getting sober, I released a solo EP, my
Mhm.
favorite shuffle. And then, because I wanted to just focus on my sobriety, and that was really scary because I was like, oh, I'm ditching music. I'm afraid I'm gonna like lose all my edge and be boring or whatever. But it's all to the contrary. Like it's been so much better since I gotten sober. So yeah, I put
That
out
is an interesting. So, like, I think we mentioned this. Sorry to cut that off, but
No,
like,
it's okay, please.
that does come up from time to time. And we mentioned while we were prepping for this show with you, is we've done that Listen to the Dissonance, and which kind of tried to harness these mental health journeys that many people were on. Obviously, they were musicians, but they're universal, as far as anybody who is struggling with any mental health addiction, depression, anxiety, whatever someone's going through, it's pretty universal. So we put that out on stage, and it was always amazing that was something that was coming up, was like, if I'm not struggling or sad or whatever, am I going to lose my art? And it was like, my heart breaks for that sentiment, that it's like, you think you need to hang on to this thing that's painful and hurtful for you just for the art. And it's just like you said, almost everyone has said that it's completely the opposite. Once you kind of work through that, you can still pull from those moments and those feelings, but now you're also in just such a better place that you can do a more professional
exactly.
product. Yeah.
It's just that, like, I can't speak for anyone else, but I certainly like romanticized all that
Sure.
shit too, and it's like,
Yeah. Oh, it came up once where they were talking about, well, it's the fear was, well, that's rock and roll, or like that's like, I need to be there in order to be like in that vibe or that scene or whatever. And it's just like, no, like there was a romanticization of that, the abuse stuff, like the substance abuse and so on. It's like, it's wild. I totally understand it, but I feel horrible for that headspace to think that, boy, if I fix this, then I'm no longer going to be able to create. And it's like, whenever chance we get to try to dispel that, no, ask for help, get the help, and then still create.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, look, one thing I always say is that, like, my follow through is better. Like, I'll finish a song, I'll say what I'm gonna do, like,
Right.
like I'll finish.
I can totally
projects.
see that. Yeah.
And my thinking is just a lot more clear. So it's just better.
Sure. Yeah, and there was one song in particular I wanted to touch on with that, since we're on the topic of the mental health and addiction. After the Wreckage, you had said that was a phrase that you had used through kind of like the journey of sobriety. I guess it came up in some of the sessions.
Oh, you're good, man. I can't believe you found that. Okay. Yes. It's there's things that people say in recovery, and wreckage is one of the wreckage of your past, like all the things that you have to, like, all the things that you fucked up kind of when you were out there, right?
Sure.
And have to sort of like fix, or kind of like leave behind. And that's what that is. So a lot of that stuff is peppered into the lyrics. It's that song that you're talking about. It's called Right Where We Belong. And that was kind of that was written during COVID. And I was just kind of like, looking forward to the day where I could be back with people and be in person with people again. That's what that one's about.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And during that pandemic time, you had set up a home studio, which I imagine might be the one you're in right now. But but that was like part of it as well, as you decided to basically make the most of that moment of, hey, I have this music, I want to record it, and can't really go out into the public. So you set this up, and it sounds amazing. Like, I can't wait to kind of hear you play a song as well. But talk about that as far as setting that up and making that kind of become a reality.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people I definitely had bouts of depression during the lockdown, but it was great because I could focus on writing too. And I invested in, all right, if I might as well record some of these, and I talked to some people that analyze acoustics in rooms, and so I got
Sure.
that all together, and I built a little studio in here, and it's been wonderful.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then you said you could play a song today, and we're going to get the full enjoyment of the studio for the first time. We're going to get some really cool aspects to this. I can't wait.
Okay, yeah, this is Confetti at your request.
Nice, I love it. So what we'll do is we'll come off screen, let you have center stage. You can kind of intro the song and let it rip.
Sounds great. Okay, all right. Let's do. I think this was written circa 2016, 2017. I have a journal about it. But this was written in response to sort of watching the television series Mindhunter. There's a scene in there where she's breaking up with him and she's holding a glass of wine, or she's pouring wine, and that's kind of where this first part comes from. And I guess the idea was just like, when we go through complicated end times in life, whether it be relationship, graduation, breakup, anything, there might be this moment of like, hey, holding on to the good times in the past, and that's sort of what this is about. Generally, it's not about specifically about anyone or anything. It's just it's that tainted with the or inspired by the spirit of Mindhunter. It's called Confetti. Looming around like the ghost of death, what she had to do, stroking the stem as she poured the wine. She broke the news. As you watch your world burn down, you stare at the confetti. Pockets bulge from what you catch. The scent is what you're after. The stillness could hypnotize a wolf. Have we met the end? Razors for teeth, but the fear is gone. Something pulls as you watch your world burn down. You stare at the confetti. Pockets bulge from what you catch. The scent is what you're after. And oh, I need to remember. Oh, I need to hold on forever. To never forget the glory days. As you watch your world world burned down, you stare at the confetti. Pockets bulge from what you catch. The scent is what you're after. Ooh, the scent is what you're after. Ooh, the scent is what you're after. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Very, very cool. And like we said, that's the first time we've had some backing tracks and electric guitar. Not the first time, but it's not as common. I love hearing all these different ways to kind of bring. It just blows me away that we can have live performances streamed with you in Philly, us up here in Bethlehem, and out to the world.
It's amazing,
It's
yeah.
pretty amazing.
Love it.
Yeah, it's so cool. So a couple things we wanted to kind of wrap up with here before
Sure.
promoting the show one more time. You also did another thing during the pandemic where you had a podcast yourself called The Process.
Yes, I did. Was talking again because it's so great that we can do these live streams. It was
Sure.
like, hey, I'll reach out to some other songwriters and talk about their process and mental health and just everything that you should expect, the real world experience of being a musician, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's very cool. And those episodes are out there on your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Just thought that was another cool thing to mention because it's also obviously the process being a very Philly phrase. So it's, continuing the all things Philly for your backstory here.
Indeed, yes.
Yes.
That's yep.
Yeah. Other than the Asian American Pie show, anything else you got to promote for the summertime? I'll bring up your site here while we're chatting so that we can sling merch or ticket sales or whatever else you got going on. Because
Yeah.
everyone always knows one thing we try to do here is point out how there's very little revenue in streaming services or digital downloads. It's a lot of the revenue comes from shows and merch sales.
Yeah, I've got a store there that people can go to at judicamusic.com.
That's good with that.
Yeah, there's shirts, there's mugs, there's what else is there?
All
Hats,
sorts of good stuff.
even.
Yeah, you can get the
There's
CDs.
CDs of Stone Throne and Judy Kim and the Assassination. Really
Nice.
quickly though, because I didn't finish talking about the Assassination, but the Assassination was a group that I put together after like my solo effort. Because I didn't want to be a solo artist, I think, and I wanted to be in a band, so I got
Right.
some people together to do that, some local friends and stuff. And that sort of fizzled out, and then I became a solo artist again. But so this summer actually we're playing again at the Fallser Club now in East Falls. That'll
Okay.
be in July, and we're doing the Abington Arts Festival that month as well. That should be a lot of fun. And then on top of that, we're gearing up to record some new music. So
Always exciting.
it's always very exciting. I mean, this
Yeah,
time
very cool.
I'm usually writing all the parts for my band, but the band I'm with they're so great, and so I'm actually having them contribute. So it's going to be a
Oh, it's nice when you can build
know.
that level of trust too, to sort of
Indeed,
throw
yeah.
it out and see what comes back.
Yeah.
I love my guys; they're great.
Absolutely. And then again, want to make sure we come back to this where we started with at the top, the Saturday, May 11th, 2024, Asian American Pie, 5 different Asian American fronted bands at the Lounge, the World Cafe Live down in Philly. I'm guessing you might get asked to take this elsewhere. So should there be other venues or cities that want to have this brought there, I'm guessing you'd try to, make that happen, in best way you can. Obviously, 5 schedules would be tough to wrangle, but I have a sense that, this could be something that people want to hear more of.
Definitely thinking about it for long term as well.
Mhm.
Not sure that's a good idea though. Like a
Yeah.
tour or something. That'd be for a month of May every year. That'd be nice.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that was fantastic.
So great. Well, Judah, thank you so much for coming on the show, for performing,
you.
for sharing your story, and for
Thank you,
putting
guys.
this together. This show is very important, and like we said, the primary reason to go is because the music's incredible. Then the other reason to go is how important these topics are to kind of put out there.
Indeed.
So, thank you again,
Thank you.
David.
Philip,
Judah Kim.
fantastic. Great
Right?
songs, great guitarist, great singer.
Yeah,
Still,
great voice.
It's high notes. Run away from those as far as my vocal range is concerned.
Well, I was not a singer. I don't believe you were, but you might have.
No.
Yeah. So
I had the occasional doo-wop in the background moment, but I was not the guy.
but no, I mean, what a great songwriter. Like we said, we got one more song to play after the credits, like usual, and it's kind of my personal favorite. So and then you want to talk about high notes, like he said in the combo there. It's a lot of falsetto, but again, nothing I could ever pull off. It's super talent, and again, the songwriting is just great. It's just
Yeah, I mean
tight.
the songs are super tight. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about those things, but he really does write an excellent song. Like they both, it's both a combination of that weird thing where it like gets in your head a little bit
Yep.
without being
Earworm.
Yeah, the earworm term is tossed around without being intrinsically pop music, and then
That's
at the
exactly
same
right, yeah.
time, there's something else if you dig right below the surface.
Definitely.
There's more there going on.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's definitely not. That's why I was hesitant to even use the word simple at all, because the songwriting is certainly not that. It's just more that it has a quality to it that when you put it on, your ears just immediately go, "Oh, I like that."
I think for me, there's a sort of a Beatles crashes into Radiohead moment that comes together with
That's
that.
perfect. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
That just seems like the right note to end on there. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank Judah Kim for coming on, for sharing his music and his amazing backstory, and obviously this incredible event on the 11th of May that everyone needs to check out if they can. If you're not in the Philly area, definitely just check out the music of all 5 bands, and that will kind of open your your catalog up to that as far as being just great music, and then you'll also understand a little bit more about those backstories. There'll be links in the show notes to Judah's website, his social media, Spotify, YouTube. There's lots of great stuff out there. Please check it all out. Hopefully you like it. Give him a subscribe and a follow, and get to know more about his music catalog. And again, all the different shows that are going to be coming up. As always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. But if you tuned in tonight because you already knew Judah, then thank you so much. And we hope that you enjoyed what you heard, and you might give our show a like and a subscribe and a follow so that we can bring you your next favorite band in the future weeks. Or if you check out nextfaveband.com, we have over 100 interviews that we've done already, and maybe your next favorite band is already out there and you just got to go find it. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up here in May, as we mentioned off the top there. Festival season is upon us, so we're getting exposed to all new bands and finding ones that are going to be playing nearby that we already know about. Also, Gangsta Grass, American Hotel System, all coming up in the month of May. Hope to see you at a live show soon, and don't forget to hang on here for one more song by Judah Kim. Here's his song, Backdoor.
Keep them close. I know why. Your politics, God forbid you sing with